can DAOnize security. One, I think it's interesting for existing projects, but as well for projects that are launching soon and as well are looking how they can DAOnize how they manage security. So basically in security we have three stakeholders. So we have obviously the builders that are building these amazing DAOs, these products. That need to make sure that their users are safe and that their projects are not getting exploited. Then we have the security researchers that are providing these tools and services that we use every day, are hunting bugs, are auditing our code. And I think one stakeholder group often is completely forgotten, and that's actually the community, because they often get the short end on the stick. And right now they don't have any saying in how we manage security. And one interesting part is obviously we have the users and the investors, but I think the most important stakeholder group is the projects that are building on top of what you are building. So I think a lot of projects, their goal is to build stuff that then people use in a composable way. But when we look at it, let's say you're building an application on top of a roll-up and you're using an Oracle, you are actually accumulating all of the risk of all the building blocks you use. So let's say and this is just arbitrary numbers, yeah, but let's say your application has a 5% chance of failing, like getting exploited, losing the funds. But the Oracle you use has an 8% of failure, the roll-up has their own set of failure of 5%, and then even the base layer has a 3% failure rate. And so there's different scenarios that can happen, obviously. Like if the base layer is getting exploited or is failing, everything on top is obviously broken. So let's say Ethereum is breaking, then all the roll-ups are dead. And then as well, even if the base layer is not breaking, if the roll-up breaks, that as well is failing the Oracle, is failing your application. And if you aggregate all of these statistical numbers upwards, then you have a failing rate of, instead of your 5% chance of failing, suddenly you have almost 20% of failure, because basically you have all of these different cases that can happen. And so I think applications that are building on top of roll-ups are not aware of that right now, and this is a situation we need to handle somehow if we now go as well into this layer 2, layer 3 world. So yeah, risk is accumulating from bottom to top. And so I think what are our tools we can use to battle this? And I think one thing we have to do is we have to as well accumulate mitigation from the top to the bottom, so that every layer that is building on top is as well helping making the layer below more secure. And there's two solutions to that. So one is immutability and formal verification. So you basically say every building block that is below, you're going to deploy that and it's being immutable. It's not going to get changed anymore. But then you have a problem. What if you deploy something immutable, but there's a flaw in that? Then suddenly you have a very painful migration. You need to get everyone off very fast. And I believe in crypto, you should be able to put your coins somewhere and not worry about it for 10 years and come back and they still should be there. So I think it's problematic. But if you formally verify each building block, which is super hard to do and super expensive, you more or less, if your assumptions are right, if you do the formal verification in a good way, you get the mathematical proof that it's safe. But this is not really scalable at this point. Hopefully new technologies like new AI models will make formal verification faster and easier. But we are not there yet. And another solution I see, and this is what I want to talk about today, is we maybe can DAOnize the risk, or mitigating risk. And there's different, just very simple concepts I want to talk about. The first is, the most stupid, is crowdsourcing auditing costs. So let's say you're building a piece of infrastructure, for example, Ethereum, which per se there's no cash flow accumulating that can be used for security, right? And we're very fortunate that the Ethereum Foundation has deep pockets and can fund all of this. But yeah, there's no reward mechanism right now that we use to channel into security. So what we maybe have to do someday in the future is we have to pool together funds from everyone using that infrastructure to fund an audit. The problem with that, obviously, is that it's dependent on goodwill. So we have like the tragedy of the commons. Yeah, maybe everyone will hope that someone else will fund the audit, and please do not me. I don't have money for this. So there's, I think, better ways to do this. The second is if you launch a project or you have like a native token and you don't have any treasury, you can actually give allocation to auditors. So I think, you know, like most projects, they deploy about like 50% of this token supply to decentralize anyways. And usually they're doing it for like incentivized trading, liquidity, for like airdrops and stuff. And we are a believer that this as well should be used for incentivizing security. And so what you can say is like, okay, I didn't raise any money, but so I don't have dollars, but I have a lot of my own token. I will give you 2% of my token supply if you make sure that our first version is completely safe. And the problem with that is obviously auditors are needing to pay their rent. So they don't have the luxury maybe to hold your token for 3 years, and they maybe need to sell it on the next day. So that is not very favorable for a young project. So what you can do is you can use a vesting contract. You can say like, okay, I will put your allocation here. Everyone who is contributing to the security will get their token vested over 3 years, like the team. But this is then, of course, not that attractive anymore for the security researcher. So then he will say like, well, why would I use my time today to make you more secure and then eventually get a payoff in 3 years or over 3 years, not knowing if the project will go anywhere. So I think this concept is not perfect either. But if we like further increase the composability again, we can say, okay, let's do it like this. Let's say I make we call it initial audit offering. I allocate like 3% of my token supply towards security. Investors can actually buy this allocation, but it's going to be ring fenced for security. So the project cannot use it for anything else. It will directly go into an auditing vault. And so you have suddenly like separated the people that want to take risk, which is investors, community, and so on, from people that just want to provide security. And I think that could be a way cleaner solution. And as well, I think it will like increase the goodwill of a lot of people, because they say like, okay, if I buy this token now, I'm like literally doing something for making a user more secure. So this is the first kind of flow that I want to show. And now the question is like, okay, but how does this audit take place? Today we don't really have a decentral auditing market that works very well, and it is well a little bit tricky still to see how like legacy audit firms will come and DAOnize themselves, work as DAOs. But what is working really well is audit competitions. For example, we are running decentral audit competitions, and so you have this vault on chain. You put your security budget in that, and anyone can claim money if they find vulnerabilities, and you only pay the people that are actually finding stuff. So you can get Sybil attacked. So for example, in the legacy audit competition model, you would share the rewards between everyone who's contributing. But then if everything's on-chain, everything is anon, people could submit the same vulnerability over and over again, and you would just get Sybil attacked. As well, you don't have any national borders anymore. So KYC is a pretty big risk for security researchers. Even in Europe, they're getting sued, they're getting arrested, and we're not even speaking about like South America or India, where people definitely don't want to KYC with an American company. And because we do that on-chain, it's pretty cool because you have like no setup fee. Like a project can just deploy their own vault and do that audit competition, cut completely out the intermediary. And together with even like decentral arbitration like Kleros, you couldn't even solve the edge cases where then the security researcher and the project and the builder are not coming to a conclusion what the fair payout should be. Another really cool aspect of these audit competitions is you can create a balance between builders and security researchers. I think what we have seen in 2021 was pretty absurd in the auditing market. So auditors have hired, which as well started to deplete the quality of the audits. And then now in the bear market, all of the auditors fired 50% of their employees again because the demand was not there. And I think we need to make the market of the talent like way more liquid. Like how many people should actually build products and how many people should audit. And I'm as well not a fan of this push to make everyone an auditor. I think we don't need, it's quality over quantity when it comes to auditors. And we need more people building cool stuff, even if it's riskier. Yeah? And auditing salary sometimes is very attractive because you know you're just going to get that really nice salary at the end of the month. And it as well solves the track record problem. So I don't know if any one of you ever worked in auditing, but if you start an audit firm, getting clients in the beginning, it's incredibly hard because how should someone evaluate if you're good or bad in what you do? Basically, they would need to buy an audit and then re-audit themselves and check if like how good was the quality. But if you are like competing in this competition on chain, then you only get paid if you actually bring results. So no one cares about your track record. You could be like a no one somewhere in the world. The next concept that we see that is pretty cool is composable bug bounties. So as I said in the beginning, like the risk is accumulating from bottom to top. So somehow we have to accumulate mitigation from top to bottom. And one interesting concept is if all of these projects host bug bounties, you can use like 10% of the liquidity of that and contribute to the bug bounty below to you. That means if the layer below you breaks, you're screwed anyways. So if the bug bounty is mitigating that thing below you breaking, that's pretty nice for you because suddenly like your business is saved as well. And you can then decide like, okay, how important is this building block to me, yeah? And then you can double use the liquidity. So let's say your bug bounty is gonna pay out because someone found a vulnerability in you. You withdraw your liquidity from the other bug bounties and pay the security researcher. But if someone reports a vulnerability in a layer below, part of your liquidity of your own bug bounty is gone, rightly so. So you contributed and as well mitigated your own risk. And I think it's hard to sell this to people because like thinking about risk is always not nice. If you tell people like, hey, you need to do this, this, and this to make yourself more secure because something in the future could happen to you, this goes a lot against human intuition. But right now it feels like the space is actually maturing and projects are starting to take security more seriously. Which is very nice because we're not going to onboard the next billion people if they're going to lose their money 2 or 3 times a year. That will not happen. Like try to tell that your mom, like use this thing, but you're going to lose your money twice a year, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. Another cool concept is what we call common good staking. So especially like with Ethereum, where we right now see a lot of people staking, we believe that if you would give up like a small percentage of your yield to contribute to the security, a lot of people would be willing to do that. Actually, Lido has a common good staking program which we're going to apply for. And just to highlight what that means, if just you would give up 0.1% of your annual yield with staking, and I think at Lido it's right about like 3.9% right now. So I think most people will not even feel that. You could generate $14 million annually. And right now, the maximum payout for a bug bounty that the Ethereum Foundation is hosting is $250,000. So on one end, I would question, like, is a $250,000 max payout for Ethereum bug bounty high enough? Because I would say probably not, because if this stuff breaks, we are all basically done. And on the other hand, I would ask, like, okay, how many people would be willing to give up some of their yield from staking to make sure that that stake is actually still there in a year? So I think, again, you know, like it's pretty, I would say pretty reasonable, pretty rational to do it. But I think somehow we have to convince people that doing that is good for themselves. Another big problem for DAOs in how to manage security is you have this core team, and this is making all the decisions regarding security. They are making the decision which audits to get, when to get audited, reviewing incoming vulnerabilities. And we are working with a few projects to DAOnize the security of, or like decentralize the management of their security aspect, which was something we call the security committee. And what we believe that what will happen in the future, so when we onboard projects to bug bounties, sometimes we get the question like, okay, I'm building on top of Compound, can I as well contribute to their bug bounty? And so people are starting to understand this, but if people contribute to your security budget, they should as well have part of the control. So we believe that for these infrastructure parts, at some point in the future, there will be a committee that will make decisions on like how much to spend, is a vulnerability that got reported legit or not. And obviously part of that committee will still come from the project itself. And one interesting fact is that you can even say like, okay, only this guy, which is a core team member, gets sensitive information. So maybe, for example, we're doing that with the safe bounty. They want to bring more people on board in managing the bug bounty, but they only want to have core team members access to sensitive information. Because if you get a vulnerability that can like steal like $2 billion of money, you want to be very careful who is getting access to this information. And this is totally doable. So you can have a group that makes decision, but still like only a few people that have access to this information. And it will just get wider stakeholder group into the discussion of security. And now I just want to slap all of these concepts together just to make like a fictional DAO launch. So let's say you are a new project, you're bootstrap, you don't raise any money. How can you launch in a very cool DAO way while having a very high standard of security? So in our like use case, in our like example, the DAO allocates 3% of the supply to security, which I think is pretty low compared to like 40% for liquidity mining or some stuff. That goes directly to early investors, and this money goes into the bug bounty vault, into the audit competition law vault. You have a decentralized community that is managing these security budgets and the payout. You automatically contribute to the bug bounties of the building blocks that you utilize in your product. And in the end, you have a wide access to the security researcher community. Everyone can participate, even if being anonymous. Okay, thank you. It's my talk about DAOnized security. If you want to check out our tech, all we do is open source. You can as well visit our website. Feel free to fork it or feel free to use our protocol, whatever you like. Are there any questions? If you have questions, let me know. Or if the talk sucked, let me know as well. Yeah, just tell me.